Welcome to this Business Spotlight podcast. My name is David Beeson. I am your host for today's conversation. And my guest today is Justin Marston, the CEO and founder of Campus Guardian Angel. We're going to be talking about his business, journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek of what it's really like to build and operate a business. Justin, welcome to the show and thank you for being here today. I would love for you to give us a little background of who you are and tell us a little bit about your business too.
Sure. So my background is building technology companies. Campus Guardian Angel is my fifth venture-backed tech company. So done two in the national security space, two in commercial. And so I guess a glutton for punishment on entrepreneurship. I keep coming back.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, generally speaking, what does your current ownership structure look like? Like, are you the sole founder and owner? Are there outside investors?
So right now there's two of us as founders, myself and Bill King, who I specifically sought out as a co-founder. And then we have a bunch of external investors that are invested in a convertible note essentially right now.
Awesome. Awesome. Tell us a little about what role you currently play in the business.
Yeah, so I'm CEO and founder, so that entails everything really from talking to early adopters and customers, recruiting and hiring, fundraising, conversations with media, product definition, market messaging, like really, especially in startups, you're doing all of those things at the start, really.
Yeah, totally understand, man. Yeah, and I kind of did a little bit of research into Campus Guardian Angel beforehand, just kind of like checking my P's and Q's. I was really curious whenever it comes to it, like how much like it really goes into like having to talk like with the government and get like I guess like the proper paperwork signed and things like that to be able to even allow these drones to exist on campuses or anything like that.
Yeah, so there's ultimately for public schools, every dollar of funding is assigned. And so you have to have a political process that lobbies for funding this type of capability. And as citizens, people have to be willing to pay for it. It's not like school districts have money just laying around for good ideas or unfunded mandates. So there is a state, particularly a state angle of working with the state government to approve funding. And we recently got our first line item signed off by Governor DeSantis in Florida for that.
Wow.
That's one kind of piece of it. And then the other one is the regulatory side. And so there it's the FAA and others that have regulations in this area that we're operating in drones. And so engaging them through the front door, and then also, working with elected officials who see the value in what you're building and try to help accelerate these government organizations in their approval and certifications of our platform.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, this is kind of a fun one for the audience. A lot of people who listen to this are like young business owners that are trying to make their, startups and things like that. So obviously you have some experience here. So many business owners, especially those new to entrepreneurship, feel as though they never have enough time. I'm curious, based on your experience, if I were to give you an extra 10 hours back each week, how would you invest those hours?
Sleep.
Sleep.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, certainly, I think, every startup, you're in this frantic, there's sort of a period in startups where or at least high growth startups, if you find product market fit and you start seeing a strong demand signal, then it becomes really frenetic. And you always feel like there's things that you should be working on. And there was a really interesting kind of article and podcast by Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, a while ago, about learning which fires to let burn. So as a founder and CEO, you cannot fix everything. You just have to decide which fires are going to kill you and which fires are not that, you can let them burn for a while and they're not going to do too much damage. And you have to focus on the ones that are going to kill you. So prioritization, ruthless prioritization, is really important, because there's no way that you can do everything well when you're a startup, because you'd need so many resources and you don't have the revenue yet to justify it. So it's really, what am I trying to prove right now? And what are the most critical items to proving that that statement's true to get me to the next phase of execution?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never thought about it like that with like, there's always going to be so many fires and which ones you're going to have to kind of let burn and which ones you need to like snuff out immediately. That's really good stuff. Um, as you look back on the journey so far, what has been the most memorable roadblock or hurdle you were challenged with that you were forced to overcome?
Um, I think in Campus Guardian Angel, it's really, the technology barrier is pretty high. So
Mm,
getting all of the different pieces, there's lots of pieces of technology that go into our offering, because we really think about it like a capability instead of a widget. And so that means it's team, it's drones, it's apps, it's like all of these different areas. And so I think the greatest challenge right now is just, there is so many different pieces of that puzzle, and trying to keep track of them all at the same time while dealing with really strong media and you know, customer appetite. That's it's if you have ADHD, this is a paradise. I have to say to folks, you know, if you like solving problems, then this is the company for you, because the good news is we are a problem-rich environment right now. So there's lots of things that need to get fixed and need to get worked on. Um, so yes, again, just a number of things. Like most companies have like one very narrowly defined product, but because we're a managed service, we touch a lot of different things. And I think, you know, there was favorite, a famous quote from Brian Chesky talking to one of his investors at Airbnb. And, you know, his investor saying to him, you know, you're like 10 companies in one. You're a fintech company, you're a hospitality company, you're a marketplace, you're a technology company, like you're, because it's a managed service and you're, you know, you're building a marketplace. There's so many different elements at the same time. So that's sort of I think the greatest challenge for us right now.
gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and I'm curious. I know that you said that it seems like y'all have a pretty big team. How big is like the team overall that y'all have over there?
Yeah, we're about 35 people right now, vast majority in
35.
engineering. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, that kind of like leads me into some of my next questions about like team building and stuff. How would you describe your leadership style in business? Has it changed maybe over the years, especially with you, you know, going from different, having different businesses that you've owned?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably better at leadership than I am at management. Um, and probably a lot of entrepreneurs in that way. I think there has to be a sense of mission in startup leadership, because it's so hard. You're asking people to work on difficult problems in unrealistic timeframes, and you know, you're pushing them really hard. There has to be a sense of mission. Um, and and then I think another really interesting challenge in leadership is, how much latitude do you give to your team, and when do you step in and have to sort of fix things yourself? And if you're jumping in all the time and fixing things, then it's disempowering to the team, and you know, you make them all hate you. So like there is this balance of, well, stuff has to get done, um, but at the same time, you can't do everything yourself as an entrepreneur. So you have to delegate. You have no choice. You can't scale yourself. Um, and there's a certain power you bring as the CEO in the job title, in the ability to marshal the organization to do things, um, and to get other people to interact with you, like CEO and founder on your email address. Even if you're a 10-person company, it has a certain power with it that marketing associate doesn't bring. And there's been, again, a lot of debate about this in the press with founder mode. You know, people talking about staying in founder mode and not hiring all these VPs, I think it's an interesting balance. I mean, there is nobody with the moral authority in a company the same as the founder. right? The founder just has the ability to marshal an organization in a way that nobody else really does. Um, so I think that, it's an area I'm still learning in, to be honest. I don't think that anybody gets it right all the time. But I'm certainly a lot better at it now than I was 20 years ago when I was building my first company.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. What has been your approach to hiring and retaining team members?
I mean, so I'm a massive believer in finding people with exactly the right skills for what you want. It doesn't matter if you know them, it doesn't matter if they come from the network. You want to validate that they've got those skills, but you're much better off hiring people who've done as close to exactly what you're looking for than trying to hire people that, good people from your network. And that's true in engineering, it's true in operations. So when I look at our team, we've brought on people who are incredibly deeply experienced in embedded electronics, embedded firmware on the chipsets that we're using. We have 4 of the top 10 drone racing pilots in the nation in our team. And they have then brought their friends. We found the first one first through a Facebook group of all places.
Oh wow.
Posted a Facebook group, got him to, got a response from Christian, and then, ended up discovering how good he was, and then building, allowing him to hire his friends who all self-validated within that ecosystem. And then similarly, my co-founder, Bill King, I approached him through LinkedIn. I sent him a LinkedIn mail
Oh
and I said,
wow.
"Hey, I've got this idea. I think I know how to do the tech. I need somebody who is tactically credible." And Bill was in the SEALs for 32 years. He was Command Master Chief of some of the most elite teams in the SEALs, and then Force Master Chief of the whole of the Naval Special Warfare. So I didn't know him from Adam, but I pinged him on LinkedIn, ended up having a burger with him at Whataburger in Austin when he had just flown back from Europe. And it came together. So I think I have seen in multiple startups that hiring the best possible people you can for the specific problem you're trying to solve is wildly more effective than just hiring people from your network and hoping they figure it out.
Yeah, it's crazy sometimes how like just like reaching out, you can find someone like going through like LinkedIn or like Instagram
Yeah.
even, and then like you can connect with somebody.
Yeah. And I would just say, don't use AI. Don't use,
Yeah.
like people can tell if you're going to reach out to somebody who matters, send a personalized message with context that shows that you gave a shit. Don't just blanket AI goop at people because it's going to be counterproductive.
Oh yeah, I agree completely. And real quick, let's touch on marketing. I know you got to go pretty quickly, so we'll try and get you out of here with probably one or two more questions, and we'll get to the rapid fire for you. But
Mhm.
yeah, so let's touch on marketing. I'm really just curious how like you market a company like this, just because I know a lot of it has to do with like the schooling and like probably a lot has to go through the government. So I'm just curious how y'all like tackle like y'all's marketing strategies.
So I think there's 2 things that I'm doing differently in marketing than I've done in any companies that I've done previously, and it's working quite well for us. The first one is having a lobbying strategy very early, which is specific to things in the public sector defense space. And a lot of companies have done that. I mean, Shield AI, Anduril, um, a lot of companies now have done that. So that's sort of one thing that we're doing differently. And then I think the second one is engaging the press because this is a very visual kind of deal. So we're doing demos around the country, and we typically get multiple local TV stations there. And now, because we've had a bunch of local TV stations, we've had a national outlet reach out to us and want to cover us next week. So I think it's using the press for effectively free marketing can be very successful if you have a story that is compelling for their format.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. And just curious, one last question before we get to rapid fire here. What does your sales process look like for this? I'm just really curious with this whole with this type of business.
Yeah, I mean, it's typically awareness. So any typical funnel, awareness, then, going in and doing a demonstration on site to build stakeholder buy-in. So let people see it from the different stakeholders. And then you get to a point where a bunch of stakeholders are saying, yes, I want this. And then the next question is, okay, well, how do we find the money for it? And in private schools, they can add it to their fees. In public schools, there typically has to be a government funding component. And so there's sort of multiple steps through that sales cycle. But yeah, awareness, stakeholder buy-in, then starting to orchestrate funding and then executing contracts.
Gotcha. And have y'all signed any contracts yet or anything like that? Or are y'all kind of still like which process are y'all in right now?
We have so we have a budget in Florida, which the governor set aside, which is specifically for us. So we're choosing which districts with the education commissioner there to do those projects in. And then in Texas, we are in contracting with 4 districts right now, and we're just going backwards and forwards on figuring out indemnity and insurance and other things because our service is quite different and new.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I've never heard of like drone protection. It makes a lot of sense though. That's why I was like really interested in getting to talk to you because I haven't heard much about it before.
Yeah. Cool. So you're
right,
rapid fire.
cool.
Let's go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just do some quick rapid fire. So real quick, what is the key to success for you?
Solving hard problems and helping people.
Gotcha. Awesome. And what is your one piece of advice for other business owners?
It's going to be much harder than you think it is. So you have to make sure you want to get on that bus. Like you need a tremendous amount of persistence.
Gotcha. And what is a book or podcast you're reading or listening to right now? I know you brought one up earlier.
Honestly, I haven't had a lot of time recently to read books and podcasts, but yeah, I mean that's probably the truth answer right now. Like I'm so in the middle of it in operations that I haven't been reading anything recently, but there certainly is a ton of great stuff out there. Particularly VCs now tend to write so much content that's useful. There's an infinite quantity out there on Medium, so
Gotcha. And this is kind of a fun question that I always like to ask everyone at the end of the rapid fire. If you had a little bit of magic dust and you could choose one spot in your business to sprinkle it, where would it be?
Probably accelerating the legislative sort of timelines. Like often these things work in annual cycles. So I wish that I could condense. I wish I had a time machine to jump from one cycle to the next instead of having to wait for them.
Yeah, totally understand. Yeah, and then before we get to the final question of the day, would you like to share with the audience where they can follow you, learn more, and potentially contact you or anything?
So campusguardianangel.com, campusguardianangel.com. That's our website. So that would be the best place to see what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, we've come to the final question of today, of the day, and that is, what is most inspiring to you right now?
I guess in the company that I'm in, I think gun violence and the risk of gun violence causes trauma in large numbers of our next generation of young people. And so being able to have a significant impact on reducing the amount of instances of this and also reducing the collective fear and trauma of it in high schoolers. We believe every high schooler has the right to an education free from the fear of gun violence. And the more protected we can make the schools, the closer we get to that. So that's probably the biggest kind of North Star that's guiding us right now.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, this was a great conversation and I really enjoyed getting to hear your story. So thank you so much for sharing. I encourage all of you watching and listening to save the show and come back and watch it again because Justin here really had some great insights on business. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that you can get notifications every time a new conversation drops just like this one. Thank you to everyone who joined us today and special thanks to you, Justin, for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you all. I'll see you all in the next episode.